Well, hello and welcome to this very special episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. And I say very special because today we kick off a month-long celebration of travel advisors as May is Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. And guess what? It doesn't take much for us to launch into full-blown celebration mode at Avoya Travel. And celebrating travel advisors, well, let me tell you, that's certainly worthy of any kind of celebration. So we'll kick off the month by showcasing just a wonderful agency and a great advisor in Jeffrey Blanchette, owner of Tonic Travel, LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, and continue to feature amazing advisors in our network all month long. Along the way, we hope you, the most important part of On Deck with Avoya, we hope that you hear something inspiring, something that makes you say, they don't treat me like that at my host agency. And I want to be involved in something so special. It spurs you to action, and you're visiting avoyanetwork.com to get those details started. After our exclusive discussion with Jeffrey, we're going to touch base on promotions, education, resources, social media. And of course, we'll make sure you have all the ways to get connected with Avoya Travel and start this amazing journey. But right now, how about the featured event? Travel Agent Appreciation Month, and we're very appreciative of this agent's time to come on our program. So if you could please help me welcome my featured guest this week, meet the network guest for On Deck with Avoya, Jeffrey Blanchette, owner of Tonic Travel, LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. Jeffrey, so great to have you on the program today.
Pleasure to be with you, Chris. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Before we get started, can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got involved and how the travel agency and Avoya Travel kind of merged into your life?
Sure. Well, I spent my career as a teacher and a fine arts administrator up in Connecticut. And in the latter part of my career, I spent my summers traveling, primarily in Europe and often by cruise ship. So when I was thinking about the next chapter of my life, well, the travel industry, it seemed like a logical place to investigate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've found over the 10 years that I've been helping people join the Avoya Network that teachers are certainly one of those professions that really resonate well in the travel industry for many of the reasons you just mentioned. They're well traveled, they're good with putting together presentations, they know how to keep people on task and kind of move the project forward. You find that was a good background for you being able to launch into travel?
Absolutely. So many of the skills that I used in my classroom easily transferred to the work I'm doing now.
Now, it's an interesting story and how you came to Avoya Travel because I peeked at your file as we were kind of getting ready for our interview, and I see you have a pretty amazing referral. At least we think so here at Avoya Travel. Tell us about your connection to this travel industry and how you got connected to Avoya Travel kind of specifically.
Sure. Well, once I made the decision to pursue a second career as a travel advisor, I did pretty extensive research into the various avenues to enter this business. And I have to say, Chris, as part of my research, I watched several of your On Deck with Avoya webcasts, and I was really impressed with the information that you provided. So although I'm quite, I think, pretty well traveled, I had never worked in the travel industry. And so it was pretty clear that I would require the support of a host agency. And so I began to research several host agencies, and Avoya was on my short list because a good friend of mine, Ricky Levine, who is a very successful Avoya Network agent, she said, you should check out Avoya. They're really good to work with. So I narrowed down my list of potential host agencies. And at that point, I reached out to two cruise line executives that I happen to know, and I asked them for a recommendation. Both said Avoya. So at that point, I was getting pretty close to reaching out to Avoya, but I had one more piece of research to complete. So I asked my friend Ricky, the Avoya agent, what am I not hearing about this company and this industry? And more broadly, what does it take to be successful in this field? And she said, you have to be patient. It takes time to build a business. So I was retired. I had plenty of time. And at that point, I contacted Avoya and began the training program.
That's a great story. And first off, we're very honored and humbled that On Deck with Avoya could be part of your research. Thankfully, it wasn't one of the episodes with Steve Hershan that you watched because we know that you continued to watch. So we thank you for that. And now that we move forward, tell me a little bit about the focus of your agency, because in many ways, right, it's still kind of in that infancy stage. But talk to me about like where you are and what your approach is as you work your way through year number 2 of being in the Avoya Network.
Sure. So the focus of my agency is really what I know best from my own personal travel experiences, and that's cruising. So in year one, I focused in on the brands that I had the most experience traveling with. And looking forward to year two, I'm hoping to plan a river cruise, which I've never done before, so that I can add a river cruise company to my portfolio. And, for me, Chris, having first-hand experience is very important to having a deep understanding of the product I'm representing.
Sure, absolutely. It's a lot easier to tell clients about something that you yourself have experienced, that you've seen with your own eyes, that you've felt the emotion of the moment, because travel is so special. It's not just about having your boots on the ground in a specific location, but it's how it impacts you from the inside out, I've always felt. So to be able to have experienced that and then share those details with your client has to be of paramount importance.
It really is. When I have sailed on a particular cruise line's ships and I can talk about, details in terms of which are the best staterooms in each category. I can even make, dinner recommendations on the various menus. That really helps.
So now that you're at this point of your agency, when you look back to when it was just kind of like that dream that you were kind of formulating, has there been any major changes between the reality now and the dream of then?
Oh, for sure. So my initial vision was that this was going to be a part-time job. I would earn some extra money so that I could do more extensive traveling. However, once I completed the training, I realized at that moment that if I was going to be highly successful, I would need to be all in and really commit to whatever hours were necessary, especially in year one. And I have to say, Chris, that full-time commitment has really paid off.
So I mean, it's great to hear that full circle journey and that the light bulb started to go on when you participated. It was still referred to as a travel agent education powered by Avoya, since morphed into its new name, the Avoya Travel Academy. But it really is a great testament to just how much of a professional program that is, that it would set the tone that you were talking about, like, hey, I either need to be all in or this might not work out exactly as I'm thinking.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, Chris, that from my perspective, the Avoya training is excellent. And I have to give a shout out here to my teacher, Michelle, who was really exceptional. As a former teacher myself, I highly value a program that closely aligns the learning outcomes to the skills required to do the job. And I'm older, I'm retired, and my generation did not grow up using technology. So for me, technology, it's not always intuitive. And yet, through the education program, especially with Michelle's guidance, patience, encouragement, I became very comfortable using the agent platform and technology.
Yeah, Michelle over as part of our network enrichment team and that whole team that, supervises Avoya University certainly do an amazing job and worthy of any shout out in my mind, Jeffrey. So nicely done on giving a shout out to Michelle there. She does a fantastic job. What are some of the resources that you find that you have access to now that you're in the Avoya network that help you propel your business forward? Or a couple of them that come to mind on top of Michelle's great assistance from AU and Network Enrichment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in addition to the initial training, once you are launched and you begin to work with your initial clients, Avoya has a fantastic early success program where they are offering workshops, one-on-one support. And again, another shout out to Laura and her team, because that early success program is really exceptional. And what was important to me about this, Chris, was that I never felt alone with Avoya. There were always people available to answer my questions, to offer support, and it was ongoing. So it wasn't like one day the training ended and now you're on your own. That support continued through my first 6 months and really continues today.
It's an important question. I'm going to just kind of riff on this for a quick second, Jeffrey, because what you said is really vital. And what we hear sometimes is that people have this fear that, yes, Avoya may provide these programs early success and the support and all of these professional development programs, but in the end, it's going to swallow up who I am as a business owner. But it sounds like you don't find that to be the case. You can still be the business owner you want to be while at the same time utilizing the resources offered by the network, correct?
That is absolutely correct, Chris. So, the business is mine. The decisions that are made are mine. Which vendors, meaning travel companies that I choose to work with, are mine. The hours that I work, the hours that I choose to work, those are my choices. But at the same time, if I have a question, I can submit a support request to Avoya, and there's a whole team of experts out there ready to assist me, and they get back to me with an answer to my question in a very timely manner.
As long as we're shouting out teams, let's shout out Carrie too, then, right? If we're shouting out support, Carrie and her team, they certainly make that happen, that support wheel. It just buzzes and buzzes, and they do an amazing job in providing that to the Avoya Network. So we're certainly proud of that. Our featured guest this week is on deck with Avoya is Jeffrey Blanchette, owner of Tonic Travel LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, and our exclusive Meet the Network guest this week as we kick off Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. Jeffrey, what advice might you offer someone watching today that's just in that very start phase, maybe still doing the research that you talked about on various host agencies, on things that they should have top of mind as they get ready to enter the travel industry?
Sure. So I think if you are considering entering this business, having the support of a host agency, in my opinion, is absolutely essential. And based upon my own research, I have found Avoya to be an excellent host agency because they have that team of experts that will provide you with that support, that ongoing training. It's really a great company to be associated with.
I have to assume that right now for you, Jeffrey, this is both an exciting and maybe slightly scary time because as you approach summer of 2024, this has to be the first year that you've had that full cycle. So you've got clients from the last year all getting ready to travel this summer. So that must be exciting. What are you hearing from your clients as far as that anticipation level of getting out there and exploring?
Sure. People, I think, Chris, will always be excited to travel. That desire to visit new destinations or to revisit favorite places, that's never going to go away. And, as someone new to the industry, I can't really compare the current business climate to past years. I would say I'm sensing that people are being somewhat cautious and a little bit more deliberate these days with how they spend their dollars. And for that reason, when I share the cost of cruising, for example, with my clients, I'm very conscious about also pointing out the value. And that seems to resonate with folks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Value for sure. And just being a true and honest person in that conversation, a great listener. Again, probably some of the skills that you picked up along the way that made you a great, a teacher for many years, I'm sure is easily transferable over here to the new world that you find themselves in. What about you? I know we're getting ready to, we're taping this a couple weeks in advance. So maybe as this airs, the 2nd of May, you might be out there. But I heard you have some fun travel coming up on up for yourself.
Yes, I do. So obviously travel is a passion of mine. And Chris, I am in a place in my life right now where seeing new places, learning about new cultures are very important to me. So I will be leaving next week for Singapore, spending a few days there before boarding a cruise ship. And we'll make stops in Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, India, and we'll finish in Dubai. So these will be all new places for me, and I'm very much looking forward to sharing those experiences with my clients.
Now, growing up, was travel important for you as a young child, or when did that travel bug kind of set in for you in life?
Yeah, so, growing up, my family really did not have the resources to travel very much. Vacations were spent on the Connecticut shore. You'd rent a cottage and spend some time on the beach. I really developed a passion for travel as an adult, and I've been very fortunate in my life to have visited some truly wonderful places around the world.
Now, just a couple more before we wrap up today, but I wanted to give you an open forum first to just share any thoughts about our industry or Avoya Travel, your agency, and something that you think might add to our conversation today for those that are watching.
Sure. So, I think if you are someone thinking about a career as a travel advisor, a year and a half ago, that's where I was. And what I've learned over the past 18 months is that it takes an all-in commitment to be successful. And if you're willing to make that commitment, this work can be both, I would say, financially and personally rewarding.
Well said. All right, here we are, Jeffrey. The last big question. We've been asking the same question to all of our guests for 3.5 years now. And we kind of know the answer already, but we love to hear it from your perspective. Are you excited? Are you optimistic about the future of leisure travel?
Oh, I'm very optimistic. My most memorable travel experiences have not been connected to the world's great museums or historical landmarks, although those experiences have been awesome. My most memorable travel experiences have been about connecting to people, and whether they come from a different part of the world or are my fellow travelers, I think the human desire and curiosity to connect with people and experience new cultures, that's something that's never going to change. And in spite of a pandemic and economic uncertainty and political uncertainty, there is always going to be that desire to connect. And so for that reason, yes, I'm very optimistic and always will be about the future of travel.
What a way to kick off Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. Jeffrey Blanchette, everyone, owner of Tonic Travel LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. Jeffrey, just fantastic. Really love your story. Hope you have an amazing time out on your adventure, and we appreciate your great insight today.
Thanks so much, Chris. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. So, of course, we're still sourcing a great guest for next week because, we've got to have somebody amazing to follow what Jeffrey just laid down there. So we're going to be back, of course, next week. It'll still be Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. We can't wait to tell that story. A great way to become a travel advisor is let me tell you about the military first, because they are our most, we love the military at Avoya Travel. We've had this ongoing military promotion now for a couple of years. It's for the veterans and their spouses. It takes $100 off the education curriculum or $100 off to affiliate with Avoya Travel. It is a way to, again, we talked about teachers being great travel advisors. Those in the military also make great travel advisors. They're so disciplined and they really understand about completing a project, and they're well-traveled, and we love telling their story. So again, if you qualify, avoyanetwork.com. And again, we're just about ready to talk about the Avoya Travel Academy. It's an amazing program. It's about a year and a half old, and it's just changing lives day by day. It's certainly changing the face of the Avoya Network. Those that come through that program, they just sell at a higher level. They make fewer mistakes. Win, win, win. Think like a pro. That's what I always say. But again, avoyanetwork.com for the latest information on the Avoya Travel Academy. And then you can get involved in the resources, some of the ones that Jeffrey was talking about, our programs, the teams, the people. That's what this program was originally designed to do, was to showcase how deep the talent pool is at Avoya Travel. And it continues to be one of our shining stars, right? All the teams that we were talking about, those from Network Enrichment, Sandy and Brenda and Michelle, that whole team over there, and Laura and her team at Early Success, and Danny at Brand Sales, and Carrie at Support. And I could go on and on and on. That's what makes Avoya Travel different. Again, find out. That's what powers Avoya Agent Power. That's what makes the marketing assets have depth. Again, reach out at avoyanetwork.com or give us a follow. All of our social media channels right out there. Avoya Travel Network on social media, TikTok and Pinterest. all the places the cool kids hang out. Or you can go old fashioned. I'm kind of an old fashioned person, and you can just pick up the phone and give me a call or send one of those old fashioned emails at chris.green@avoyatravel.com. But again, avoyanetwork.com, a lot of great information. What a great way, again, to start off Travel Advisor Appreciation Month. Really enjoyed that conversation with Jeffrey Blanchette, and thank you so much for your time. Big thanks to Annabella. Big thanks to Tegan for producing our segments today. Until next week, take care, my friend.